Tell me about your experience.
Well, we were up on a mountain and we have a 100-acre private property up there that my family owns, but no one goes there except my sister and I and her husband and my boyfriend. And we basically take care of the 100 acres and the grass and the shelters and everything else up there. So I don't remember that time though, if we were camping or if we'd been cleaning and working, because it's been quite a while. But anyway, um, there's no road to that area. It's just grass, and you have to know what you're doing and where you're going in order to get there because there's no markings, right? Okay, so we're coming back down off the grass, getting ready to get on a kind of a road, but yet untraveled. So, I don't know why, but for some reason I looked to the right as if someone would be coming when there's nobody up there. Right? Okay, so I saw this very tall, I think it was hairy, but um, more of what I saw was vining, weeds, some sort of green, possible pine needles in it. There were pieces of, or on it. There was no in it. It was on it. Pieces of like probably white pine, which is not native there either. This is all from prior strip mining they reforested. Not my section is 100 acres of very old land where it has never been touched, underground or above ground. Okay, so we're down on that section. But I don't know, like, it's hard to say what it was because at first I thought it was a hunter, and then I thought that's the biggest man I've ever seen in my life. And then I thought, you have all these thoughts because you don't see people up there anyway, unless they're in a vehicle driving. Okay, so I'm like, why is someone there? Okay, long story short, so I couldn't really, from that distance, make it out, but I know it had to be over 8 feet because I've been in that same spot in front of a gas well, which has stairs that come down off of it. I've been there touching probably the third or fourth step, and I'm almost 6 feet tall. So this thing was, I counted up afterward, thinking, oh, that's where it was. That's where it was, right? Okay, right around there. It was around 8 to 9 feet high, tall. But we went looking for it because I was scrambling for my phone, couldn't find the phone. I don't know how to explain the panic mode that came over me when I realized that's not a human. That's not a hunter. This is all posted private property. There's never anybody hunting, right? And then why would someone? It was chilly, but my son's a Marine. My first husband was Army. That was by no way, by no means, anything that a military person would wear hunting.
Gilly.
Ghillie suit, right? It was definitely not that. Just because of the large size, which I could tell, even from as far away as I could tell that there was large red because it was early spring. And if you'll notice, the poison oak and the poison ivy is really red right now. Yeah, and I noticed that on it. And then the arms, that was the other weird thing. It turned slightly, only the head, and kind of glanced because I thought it was a tree stump. I thought somebody cut a tree. I'm like, there was never a tree in front of that gas well. What is that? Okay, because I've been up there 50 plus years. Okay, so then when I saw that, I was like, is that a bear? I'm like, that's not Boo Boo. We have a pet bear up there. He passed away, but anyway, his name is Boo Boo. Well, as pet as you can get for that area, but it wasn't a bear, I knew. And then I'm scrambling for my phone. Didn't want to take my eyes off it, which I didn't. I never found my phone to get pictures. I never found anything. So my boyfriend, he got back in the truck, and I'm like, "Did you see that?" And he's like, "What is wrong?" He's like, "You're like pale as white as a sheet." And I said, "I don't know what I saw, but it turned its whole body as if to like say, I see you," but it did nothing. It didn't move its arms. It just shifted its entire body. And then literally 2 steps, gone. But he went looking, and we did find some pretty significant trailing back in there, but there's so many bears, deer, and now we're getting elk in the same area. So I can't really say if like what kind of trail it was, but fairly large trail. And then I noticed on that trail also, that's when I got scared. There was a lot of breaking of the branches way up high, which I knew when bears don't walk like that, right? So that's when I said we need to get back. Well, this was after, not that day. That day he went looking. That day I was like, oh, absolutely not. I will not get out of this truck. I was shaking. Okay, so then never saw it again. Haven't seen anything again. After that, we did get the footprint, which I showed you, which is, I wish we had something better to scale it with, but I wasn't even thinking. Walking, that was about maybe, I'm thinking 8 months. We started looking more closely in that area. But we constantly get tree knocks up there for no reason, even when we don't knock. It's just random. Like, we don't have to provoke it. My sister's heard deep growls that the octaves raise up to almost a soprano tone. She has a recording. It's very scary. Nothing I've ever heard. And we grew up on that same mountain, my sister and I. Let's see, what else? Oh, the dreams. Since that happened, though, I'm thinking probably about 10 days to 2 weeks after. And I take sleeping pills also because I have a hard time sleeping at night because I had worked night shift prior to retiring. So I have this reoccurring dream where there's a large palm. In my dream, it looks like an ape. And it has hair on the back of it, but this part is clean, but it doesn't look like a human palm, right? And this palm, for some reason, I'm like above my dream watching, and this thing that I saw with all the stuff falling on it is approaching me, but it hits me on my forehead, and every time I wake up with my forehead tipped back in the bed as if something, because I don't sleep like that, so I'm like, what is this? And that has gone on now for pretty much going on 4.5 years of this constant recurring dream. And I had it last night, which is weird. That's why I thought we got to go back. Yeah.
Well, that could be, post-traumatic stress, because seeing something like this is life-changing, very emotional. So I've talked to many witnesses that have dreams afterwards who can't stop thinking about it daily almost. So let's go back to the sighting.
Okay.
What date was this?
I'm thinking it was around this time of year. It was around March. I didn't really document it. I should have documented better, but I do have records if I were to search my phone. I'm thinking it was around this time of year and towards the end of March, which makes me think that we were working up there, not camping, because it's too cold at night for me to camp yet. Well, I'm older, so it's a little too chilly. So I'm thinking it was around this time of year in March of 2019. Yeah.
Okay, 2019.
It was definitely 2019.
And what time of day was it?
Before dark. I think it was before the time change, so it was a little earlier than this. So I'm thinking around 3:30.
3:30. So
sunny.
Plenty of sun out. And you're in a vehicle. Were you driving or was your fiance driving?
He was driving. He had gotten out to check something in the back, which I didn't know he was getting out at all. So during this whole sitting there, getting ready to turn left. Oh no, he got out to lock his hubs because we had the lock-in hubs, with the four-wheel drive. That's what he did. He was out unlocking the hubs because we'd come out of the no road part. Was no road anyway, but anyway, we came out of that part, so we were cool to go. And I had looked right at the same time that he was getting out, not knowing that he even got out of the truck. And then I'm mesmerized. I was just like, who is that? It's so close to our property. I'm like, who's that? And then like, what's that? And then I'm like, it's a bear. And then I'm like, that's not a bear. And a bear would never turn and, I mean, the one bear up there does. He will look at the camera and smile. It's cute. I have to show you a video. You'll die. But he's dead now.
So describe this creature with whatever you remember.
I remember, like, I couldn't really make out, but I could tell from that distance that there was no hair on the face. Or it looked like somewhat of a face, because you got me thinking about it more now. But I remember there's no definition between the head hair or the beard, I didn't notice if it was a mustache or anything, but this part coming down, there was nothing differentiating the fur. That was what was weird. And then if it was fur, I don't know, because there was so many vines, and I don't know, up there, like the leaves are orange, black, red, every color all year long. I guess they just freeze because we get such quick freezes. The leaves don't really go like blacks like some places. So it looked like that. Like it just had all this stuff like crammed on it. They just smashed on it, like if you were hiding.
Right.
Yeah, it was creepy.
Okay. What color was the hair?
From where my vantage point, it was mostly dark, like not quite black, but a really, really dark brown. But I know I remember seeing the glisten because it was sunny. The vines, the red, like when the poison oak, poison ivy come out. That, and I'm so allergic. Maybe it wasn't even that. Maybe it was something different. But I remember seeing the sun glistening on that bright red, that tone of that poison oak, poison ivy when it comes out. The big ones this time of year. You know what I mean?
Could you see any difference between the hair and the skin color of the face? Was there?
No, it just looked like if you were looking. I'm trying to think how you would explain it. Like if you were looking at an ape, literally from where you would see one in the zoo behind a cage or behind glass, you could make out like it was clean. Just a little section that was tiny,
around where the face was.
little tiny. Yeah.
And when you first saw the creature, was it standing or was it sitting or what was it doing when you first saw it?
I thought it was a tree stump.
So.
And it was that dark. And then I didn't see the red tones. I didn't see the brown tones until it literally stood up. Or it didn't stay. It wasn't sitting position, but the way it propped itself around is when I saw the different colors. I'm like, wow.
So this is a tall tree stump.
Very, and that's what was so confusing because I hike there all the time, right? So I've never noticed a tree or a stump in front of that gas well. So I'm like, who's that? I'm thinking maybe it's my sister came up, maybe it's my family came up. Somebody, usually I don't. But anyway, I'm thinking of somebody, right? And then when its actions just made me say, no, what is that? Right? Yeah. And he had a problem with the left hub or something. It seemed like an hour. I mean, it was only seconds, but it seemed like hours before he actually opened the truck door and got back in. And I'm like, did you see that? He's like, no, what did you see? He's like, you're white as a sheet. And I'm like, I don't know what I saw. And he's like, we're going that way because we're supposed to turn left to go back up to the top of the mountain and go or top of the hill and get back home. And he's like, I'm going to go see. And we went look, and then when I saw those trails, I'm like, ooh, I don't think this is. We've no weapon, no nothing,
Okay, so how far from the truck was it?
What did he say? 70 yards, 80 yards?
70, 80 yards. And describe the overall, silhouette, the shape of it.
Huge. That was the weirdest part. That's when I realized it's not human because when it tipped the first time, it tipped its head, and then the second time it turned its whole body. But the first time when it tipped its head, that's when I realized this isn't a stump. There was never a tree there. So what are you thinking? All this stuff I'm trying to process. But yeah, and then when it turned, it didn't move its feet much though. That was weird. It was like it was like it was on an axis, you know what I mean? And then when it turned, it was like brown, dark brown, black, red, but the red was the vining stuff on it.
The vines and leaves
and the
on
leaves. It obviously, to me, it seemed like it didn't want to be seen, number one. And I think when it turned its head to the left to look at me, it was thinking I hadn't seen it yet. And then when I don't know if I made eye contact or not, because I can't see that good. I'm getting older. But regardless, then it turned its whole body, and then the couple steps gone. But the thing was, like, the way it acted looking back now, I think it didn't want to be seen. It wanted me to think it was a tree stump. Of course, I've been up there 60 years. It's not a tree stump. There's never been a tree there to start with. Okay, so I'm trying to reconcile all this. But then when it took off, it's like 2 steps behind. It was behind the gas well, and then I never saw it on the other side. And there's a little clearing right there. I never saw anything. That's what was the weirdest too. That was weird. Where did it go?
Yeah. You talked about the arms.
Very long.
How long were the arms?
what looked to me like arms and fingers was down below its knees.
So really long.
But there was no thigh part. I
Yeah.
couldn't make out a thigh, but I
Yeah.
may have been too far away.
Yeah.
I couldn't make out any thighs at all. It literally looked like it only had this huge torso, and then it was like, I don't know, instead of thighs, but and knees, I don't know, but it was like this tiny little, about as long as my calf.
Mhm.
That's what the legs looked like. It was weird. It was creepy.
Yeah. What about the shoulders?
Very wide, huge,
So you could see it had wide
huge.
shoulders.
Yep, because when it,
Yeah.
I would say it had to be 8 feet tall, and then when it turned to before it, and it was kind of weird, like it turned to the left and then it stepped at the same time. But the thing was, like, that's when I saw the width of the shoulders. The thing was huge, and that's when I said, that is not a human. Again, I'm like, that's not human.
Mhm.
What am I looking at? What is this? Yeah,
What about the shape of the head?
I couldn't make it out.
Yeah.
Just that little round circle. It would look like maybe, what's that, like 15, 20 inches?
And that's the face.
That's all I could tell.
But what about the actual shape of the head? Was it round? Was it big compared to the
Looked like a
body?
bear.
Small compared to the body?
It looked like a bear, but no snout. No snout.
No snout.
Because I would have seen that when it tipped. It just looked like a bear. Like
Any,
it was so furry.
could you see ears?
No.
No ears.
No.
So then it took a couple steps away from you. How did it walk away?
Slowly and like not startled at all. Like just casual. It was very casual. But in that casual mode, to just go boom, boom, disappear, that blew my mind. 2 steps gone.
Just yeah.
Huh?
When it walked, what about its arms or legs?
Nothing
Anything
moved.
you notice about the way it turned and walked? No.
Nope. It turned its whole body toward, like it knew it was, I saw it, I think. And at the same time as it turned, I think it already knew that I'd seen it. It stepped with the left leg is what it was. Yeah, because I was facing it that way. So the right leg would have been over here, or its left leg would have been over here. Yeah, and it with its left leg, just 2 steps gone. Does that make sense?
Yeah. And so looking back on this, how certain are you that this was not a bear, it was not a person in a ghillie suit? How certain are you?
Probably 99%. There is some stuff out there now, I guess, according to my son, who is a Marine, that could possibly, replicate this. I don't know. And then my son swears they have like military grade stuff where you can, be invisible and all this. I don't know, but no. But why would they be up in that area? Even if it was that little 1%, I don't know. I'm about 99% sure this was not human. No.
So what's intriguing about your report are the vines and leaves you noticed in the hair.
Like a dirty, filthy look.
Yeah.
Yeah.
With a lot of vines in it and leaves.
Almost to the point that, you know what a Rastafarian is, like the Jamaican dudes that have the locks, dreadlocks.
Yeah.
Like I told you, it almost resembled like a Predator movie or something, but it didn't look alien to me. It didn't look like something you'd see on TV, like an alien, but it didn't look like a normal Bigfoot to me either. So I don't know, but I don't know what a normal Bigfoot looks like because it's the first time I ever saw one. But what I've seen now, I don't, nothing like that.
Okay, you mentioned prior to seeing this creature, you would camp up there. Tell us what happened when you would camp up there.
Oh, numerous things, but the weirdest was when the 3 o'clock in the morning, around 3:15, sometime around there, I'm awakened from a deep sleep, and I do take sleeping pills. So that's the weirdest thing because I don't usually wake up for, unless it's a fire, I'm not gonna wake up. But it's single knock. It's like 3 knocks. Okay, so I'm thinking, there's people still here. Why are there people? What is that? There's no people up here. There's no people up there at all, right? So yeah, okay, and that was happening. This was after I saw it, after the sighting, and then it'll I'll go back to sleep, you get back into a deep sleep around 25, 30 minutes or so. It'll do it again. But it's like it just waits for me to fall back. And so we just leave. I just can't. No, I feel like at that point it wants me out of here or something. I don't know. I don't feel comfortable.
What did the knock sound like?
Just boom, baseball bat on a tree. Boom, boom, 3.
3. And it would do it multiples of 3.
Yeah.
Throughout the night.
Well, around 3 till. Well, we usually leave around 4 because I've had enough. So we go home.
So this happened after the sighting was taking place when you're up there camping, yeah.
But then before the sighting, we only lived here 6 months. So back in Virginia, back then because we were in Charlotte before.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm from that area though.
So, how has this changed your life?
Oh, I was a total skeptic. I thought people were wasting their time. I thought they were stupid. I thought it was ridiculous that people spent money looking for or thinking that there's possibly anything like that. I was probably the world's biggest skeptic until that happened to me. And now I want to talk to people that know what I'm talking about. I want to talk to people that understand, like can share with me what they've seen, heard, even like my sister, even her, like she's like, no, I've heard things up there. I'm like, no, it's a coyote, it's a fox, it's whatever. But no, I've heard recordings and it's not. So, I'm not that person anymore. I've changed. Yeah. I'm more open-minded toward it. Yeah.
Without divulging the exact location, generally, where was this at?
Very far southwest Virginia, between I could say that, right? On the border of Russell, Dickinson, and Buchanan County. There's literally a marker up there that has all 3 counties. Now, my section is the Russell County side, but to get down there, you have to go down through Dickinson County to get down to that part of the mountain. Yeah.
And what would you say the closest city would be?
City,
yeah.
like a Walmart,
town,
like a Walmart.
Yeah.
Probably about 65 miles
to the nearest city. What city would that be?
Lebanon, Virginia.
Lebanon, Virginia.
If you went east, and then you could go west down into probably Elkhorn City, Kentucky, would be the closest.
Yeah. Okay, just trying to get a good idea where
it's in the middle of nowhere.
All right. Well, thank you so much. Is there anything else you want to add to this before
no, not that I know of. I just, I really believe now.
Yeah. Well, cool. Well, thank you so much for the interview, and maybe more people will come forward now hearing your story.
Yeah. Right.
Thanks.